I sat down for my first day of training, and the first guy that steps in front of me is Ed Dames, who's a smart fucking guy. I mean, he's smart. Speaks Mandarin Chinese.
Wow.
Reads, writes, and speaks Mandarin Chinese. Reads, writes, and speaks Vietnamese. Whoa. He's the closest thing to a physicist or a scientist that place ever saw. Okay? Next to me. And he's standing in front of me, and I go, all I have here is a pad and a pen. I go, is there a training outline? He goes, no. I said, is there a program of instruction? No. Is there a fucking manual, for this? Like, can I read ahead to understand? He goes, no. He goes, well, there's some shitty thing that's like 12 or 20 pages long, but we don't give it to anybody because it's a piece of shit. And I went, this is really not good. This is really not good. I'm an academic. I think he's an academic, and I'm like, okay, shoot, It just, so he was an instructor for some things. Mel Riley was an instructor for some things, and Gabrielle Pettengale was my primary instructor for pretty much everything. And it was like whatever came to mind that day for that period of instruction is what you were being taught. And for me, that was just like a catastrophic sin, of military training or as an educator. Are you kidding me? So it made it very difficult for somebody like me who wanted to see the protocol, who wanted to understand the dogma. And then they kept talking about things like an alpha brainwave state or a theta brainwave state. And I was like, I'd raise my hand like, but how do you get there? Well, it's like this. And they would tell you like how you're supposed to feel when you get there. I go, but that's not how to get there. And that's not proof. You're telling me how I'm supposed to interpret a physiological response to being in a brainwave state. And you're telling me that because that's what somebody told you, and somebody told the person that told you got told by somebody else, but you're not giving me any actual empiric evidence of how to get there. You're not telling me.
So you're saying it's like all objective experiences being
subjective.
That's what I meant.
Subjective. Yeah. It's all. It's. Yeah. Well, when you get to an alpha brainwave state, you'll feel this.
Okay.
Well, fuck that. Right. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
I understand what you're doing, but no, there has to be a way to get there, and you have to measure and know you're there. I can't know that I'm there based on what you're telling me. That none of it connected. None of it made sense. It was sloppily done and disappointing. And still, you learned how to do it, but it was just trashy done. It was really not a good thing. And there was not a manual the entire time I was there. So I was asked to write the manual the last 90 days I was there. And I wrote a manual. It was like 250 pages long, but I know what happened to it. Once I gave that to Fern Gavin, shortly after I left, he was displaced by, another guy by the name of Dale. And Dale came in there. And I know that all the old school guys that were there just went like, yeah, well, fuck, we're not going to take this. Morehouse is only here for 3 years. And, we're not going to use a manual he developed. To hell with that. We've been here forever. And they had. There are guys still alive today that have been there for 15 years. Can you imagine 15 years out of a 20-year career to be in that place?
Hell no.
Yeah. I never had any intention of going into that place and being there like that. I was there to check a box, to get what I could get from the organization. It was my second special access program at that point. And, I went off to another special access program before going to Command and General Staff College. And that's a whole nother story, but the third special access program. But yeah, it was it was just shoddy. But despite that, you could sit there as a scientist or as an academic and you could question things. And they didn't have good answers for them. They just kept telling you, push on, push on. You're going to get to the point where those questions are going to be invalid. And it just what they were saying is that there's this crossover point just through the act of doing it, that you're going to get to a place where the volume of verbal and visual data exceeds your ability to explain it away when you're given the feedback. You're not going to be able to look at the feedback and go, well, I could have just made that shit up, because it's going to be 20 pages of verbal and visual data, textural sketches, contour sketches, dimensional sketches, geospatial sketches, colors, temperatures, textures, tastes, sounds, smells, right? Emotionals, intangibles, aesthetics, all these levels of data that you're going to start producing based on each stage that you move through, stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way out to 6. By the time you get into stage 3 in your training, that's that's where you're now like pushing up to 3 months of training. And at that point, the sheer volume of what you're doing and the picture that you're able to paint based on just 2 sets of 4 numbers, when they give you the feedback, you have to, first of all, finish it all, finish your session. Mm-hmm. You have to do a session summary. You have to reference your sketches and all these other things. And so you pull together the summary and then you hand that in and it's evaluated. It's evaluated by your trainer, by your trainers, and by the program manager. And only after they are looking and evaluating your structure, the structure is all they give a shit about at that point, only the structure. So that you understand in stage 1, you do these things. Stage 2, you do these things. Stage 3, you do these things. 4, 5, etc. Right? So that's what they're looking at. If there are violations in the structure, they don't give a shit about your content. But if there were violations in the structure, they would give you your feedback, or they would give you your feedback with counseling. In other words, you failed to do this, you failed to do that. Now you're going to go, you have another training target this afternoon, right?
Okay.
Or tomorrow morning. So they would push you back in again, and they wouldn't push you up another level. They would make you would do another stage 3 target or another stage 2 target, they call it.
Okay.
Until you demonstrated that you had mastered a stage 2 or stage 3 or 4, right? All the way to 6. And that's how they did that, which was, I get it. It's like, I guess in wrestling, you learn a move and your coach requires you to do it until you master that move. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then you either he does something different or, he keeps you working on it till you master the move. So that was the idea there.
Okay.
And I understood that. And, but by the time you're into stage 3 and into it, the sheer volume of the data that you're producing, the story that you're writing in the session summary, and then they would hand you the feedback. The feedback in those days really sucked. It was like, a Xerox copy of a Xerox copy of a Xerox copy, so mostly black, and then some textual descriptions of what you're looking at. So they're really horrible. Nowadays we do video, right. We put all kinds of links in it where you can go this place and look at it. But you get this Xerox copy of something with this, thing written. Nowadays we put quantifiable attributes about the target. So in other words, these things should be perceivable. And it could be like it could be 200 quantifiable attributes. So you're now looking at your session and your session summary, and you're looking at the quantifiable attributes in the feedback, and you're establishing a statistical rating for yourself by going, I got that. Yep. I got that. I didn't get that. I got that. I got that.
Okay.
Didn't get this, didn't get that, but I got that, right? You go all the way through it because these known quantifiable attributes that pertain to this particular complex gestalt of a target.